All right, so Leon and Adam have become friends of mine over the last couple of years. And just an unbelievable deal maker Leon is, and he's a treasure to us real estate investors because he treasures people. That's what I love about him. It's all in his heart. And he makes unbelievable deals in Mississippi all the time for many, many years. He's had very large businesses. He's had a lot of investments and a tremendous amount of experience. And I'm so thankful that now he is sharing all of that with all of us. And if you can build rapport with people and you genuinely care about who you're working with and you can solve their problem and at the same time benefit you, you're going to have a winning deal. Dealmaker is all about making deals. The one with Bill Cook was really good, right? Stacking structures and all of that. Now we're going to hear the people side of it and from the heart with some real life stories straight from. And here's the last thing. Adam is awesome. I love how they work together. It's like this father-son duo that is all about legacy. And I get to work with my daughter, Krista, who you met at the registration table, like every day. And as a father, that's the best use of my time. It's not making my own deals anymore. It's helping them build deals for themselves. And I love the way you two are doing that as well. So please, on your feet, welcome Adam and Leon from beautiful Mississippi.
Thank y'all very much. Thank you.
If y'all would stay standing for just a second. It's after lunch. We could all do a few little, shimmy shakes and exercises. So real quick, this is a people business. We're going to dive into that in just a second. But one of the things that I really love, and Jim, thank you so much for the opportunity that we could do this together. It is a lot of fun working with Dad. And especially, because I was a teenager at one time. And we may have had some disagreements before. So it's really nice just to be able to do this and work together. Here's the thing that I want to say. We talk a lot about mindset. That's one of the things that I love the most about Dealmaker, right? Do y'all enjoy that? Well, that was pitiful. That was, right? So one of the things with mindset is an attitude of gratitude, right? All right, so if y'all would sit back down. Just imagine for a second that you had to have somebody help you stand up. Right? So take that attitude of gratitude. For $225, you can change one person's life that can't do with ease what you just did. Where's Augie at? Is Augie in here? We'll find him. If you haven't done something, do something. If you can do 10 wheelchairs, great. If you can do one, great. If you can go home and tell somebody about it, great. Do something, right? It's just like we talk about with the real estate business. People of action are favored by the goddess of good luck. That comes with charity too. All right, I think we're done.
Well, go ahead. Oh, yeah. We can sit down now, huh? Hey, we don't know what each other's going to say, so. No, go ahead, Addie.
Well, today we're going to talk about real life deal making, and it's funny how these things, none of the speakers collaborate, but it's really interesting when you're in the right room with the right people, all the stuff flows together really, really well. Have y'all noticed that before? Other speakers, you get up here and it's like, wow, it's like we really planned this out. Mm-hmm. But we want to talk about real life deal making. So did you have something you wanted to throw in?
Well, and I just want to tell you a little bit about me and Adam. And I was real fortunate with a couple of those guys, one of those guys that you saw that Bill had up there. In 1978, that's before most of you were born, I had the opportunity of meeting Jack Miller and John Schaub. Changed my whole life. I'd been a real estate broker for 2 years, or 3 years I'd been a real estate broker. And I hadn't had a warm meal at home for about 2 years. Just taking care of about 50-something salespeople. And it totally changed my life. I mean, it changed my whole world. And it's been a learning experience since then. And I've never stopped learning. You know, I learned something from Bill just a while ago, a little kink in something that I had never thought about, you know. It was real good. But it's a learning experience, and coming to events like this will change your whole life. It changed my life for the better financially. And I'd like to thank Jim. I'm humbled by him just asking us to come up here and speak. You know, we're from the south end of Mississippi. You know, we don't even talk good down there. And to have Jim invite us up here to speak, I'm humbled by that, and I appreciate that. And
It may have been for comedic relief.
I hope we can help some of you and change your life when you leave here. If some of you are here for the first time, you're hearing this, that's the kind of people I want to speak to. And I worry a lot about what I see going on out in the marketplace today with all the gurus. You know, they see a deal, they do a deal, and they start teaching a deal, and they're charging $8,000, $10,000, $15,000. And they showcase all these people doing 100 deals a month. And I worry about some of you coming on that you look at people like that and you think that's the way it's supposed to be, and so you don't do anything. You know, I'm here to tell you, if you're an average person and you go buy some average houses, maybe 10 or 15, in an average neighborhood, and you don't all have to do it in the same month or the same 5 years, you do that, you charge average rents, and before long, you will have an extraordinary income. And you don't have to be some big guru to do that, okay? So I want you to know, no matter who you are or what you think about yourself, I hope you listen to Mary Hart and these other speakers and know that, hey, you can do it yourself, and you don't have to look like one of those guys that's the big dog, okay? So that's the attitude I want you to have and feel, that, hey, I can do that. I can do it. Go.
So, what makes a good deal maker? I'm asking y'all.
Everyone's a win-win.
Win-win, good listener, resourceful, problem solver, that's a good one.
Yep.
Get out of your own head.
Ooh, get out of your own head, right? That's the number one thing that slows me down is myself.
Back, Cheryl.
Not a big ego.
Not a big ego.
If you notice, I put in the notes, leave your ego at the door, right? Is that okay? Anyone else back here? Sean, how about you? What makes a good deal maker?
Integrity.
Integrity. So here's what I'm going to say. You're all right. I mean, not that y'all are all right. You're all right. But here's the thing. Those are all layers of the onion. And what we want to go through today is what's at the center of that onion when you peel back all the layers. And that is that any deal maker that we've ever met that I consider a real deal maker knows that there's two things they have to understand that everybody wants. Anybody want to care to guess?
Any guesses? All right, Don, got a brave soul here. You're in a group that it's okay to be wrong.
Well, that's fortunate. One thing I'm thinking is people want to be understood.
I'd say that's a layer of the onion,
Okay.
but
good one.
very good
It's a
answer.
good layer. It's a good layer.
You want to
Anyone
know?
else?
Any
Oh,
guess?
Here we go. Hang on, I'm coming. Hold on.
They want to tell their story. They want to be heard. They want to be understood.
I think you heard me.
Okay, all right. Tell your story. Okay. Chuck?
Dignity.
Dignity. That's a really good one. All layers of the onion, though.
I would say empathy.
empathy. They want to know that they're understood. Somebody really feels what they're going through. Let's hear one more.
Respect.
Respect. Ooh, that's I'm going to tell you a little story about that in just a second. That's a layer of the onion. They have to trust you. But here's the thing.
Solution.
What was it? What?
Solution.
They want to hear a solution, but it has to serve a purpose. And if you trace back all of this stuff that we've been talking about, it comes back to two things.
Freedom and peace.
Oh, now you're talking.
You know, let me say this. You know, being a real estate broker back in the 70s, we did a lot of subject twos, believe it or not, back in those days. In fact, probably over 50% of our sales from one client to another was a subject two. Because back in those days, there were no due on sale clauses on FHA and VA loans. And that's how I started buying a ton of our properties, was subject to, way back in those days, okay? But when I went and heard Jack Miller and John Schaub, I heard a bunch of techniques. So immediately I became technique driven, okay? And I love learning. And when I learn something, I like to go use it. You know, I'm excited to go use it. And man, I'd hear this technique and then I'd go hunting for a place to be able to use that technique, you know? And that was really the wrong way to go about doing things. You know, it's kind of like Bill was talking about that big old hammer, you know, pay 70 cents on the dollar. That's just one tool that you're going to go use. That's just one technique. And there are a lot of techniques, and Bill hit on a bunch of that stuff. It's just absolutely awesome. He had that big long list of things up there. I think I've probably done every one of those, and some of them multiple times. And it's good to know all that, and it's very important to know all of that, and it's very important to be ready to use all that, but you got to know why and where and when, and know what the problem is, and how to solve that problem and which tool to use. But the very layer, everybody in the world has these two goals of freedom and peace. Now, they don't necessarily know that. I think you guys, that's what you want, right? Is freedom and peace.
Isn't that why
what
you're here?
Is that not why you're here? If you peel down through all the layers, freedom and peace is what it's all about. And we could talk about freedom from and freedom to. And I made a whole bunch of lists of things, and I'm sure it's not all inclusive, but freedom from worry, freedom from stress, freedom to be able to go do things in your life that you want to do with you and your family, freedom to give to charities. That's a freedom to be able to go and do that. And the other thing is that peace that comes with that. That's the most important thing in life. And if you learn to structure that and use that when you're sitting down with someone and you find out what it is that I can bring freedom and peace to these people. And it's different in so many different cases. Freedom means different things to different people. And when I say peace, I'm not talking about free from war or, you know, not being at war. I'm talking about that inner peace and satisfaction that comes from being free from worry and free to be able to go and do the things that you want to do in life and for your family and to give what it is that you want to give.
I would say Bill's example about that tax deal that was a great example.
Exactly. You know, I whispered to Adam when you was talking about the people with the taxes. They wanted freedom from being able to have to pay those taxes. They wanted freedom to be able to stay in their house. And you gave them that peace of mind, that peace to be able to do that. You see what I'm saying? It fits in every deal, and that just made a really good example right there. A great example.
Everybody with us so far? Give us a yeehaw if you're with us. Hey, everybody's coming alive now. All right, so I want to drive a point home. I'm going to get a little redundant for just a second, but who needs freedom and peace, right? Do sellers need freedom and peace? And I'll tell you, right, what's the answer? All right. I don't go on an appointment if there's not a need for me to provide a solution for. I can't tell you how many times I've been on the phone with somebody and they're like, just come look at it. We're ready to sell. And then I ask a few questions and they don't need somebody like me, they need a realtor. Right? And guess what we do? We send them to a realtor.
We refer them.
One that we know will take good care of them and provide the freedom and peace that they're looking for. Right? Now, when we do come in handy, and this is the one where, who said respect a minute ago? Let me tell you a quick story. So this is where sellers need freedom and peace. We had a lady that sold us a house for $5,000. We were the lowest offer she had. We were the only people that treated her with respect.
Did we do an option on that deal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we actually did a pure option on that one. And our original option consideration was to pay the back property taxes before she lost it. House was free and clear, needed a lot of work. She sold it to us for $5,000, and she told us that we were the only people that treated her with respect. Even though our offer was the lowest, she went with us. And when we closed on it, so that was when we got the option. It was about 10 months later we closed. And I don't think it hit us until the next day when everything kind of unfolded, right? Hindsight's always a little clearer. But she made us all cry 3 times in the closing. And she kept saying what a relief it was to know that her house was going to somebody who was going to turn it into a home for a new family. And she drove that home. She kept emphasizing it. Man, what a relief.
Peace.
Man, it feels so good to knock this off my to-do list. And 12 hours later, she passed away. She had been holding on to that, fighting that burden that selling the house to the right person relieved. And she had her peace and freedom that she was looking for. Right? That's the level of like how extreme these examples are, but that's real life. Right? Y'all understand that? Have y'all been on appointments where somebody said, wow, I was at the end of my rope, I didn't know what to do. I've been praying for you to show up. Right? Raise your hand. Don't be shy. That's the best part of this business. The paychecks are icing on the cake. But the substance comes from doing deals like this. Do buyers need it? Do we need freedom and peace? Speak up. Give me a yeehaw if you're with me. Right? Buyers need it. Wholesalers, flippers, landlords, lenders, do they need freedom and peace? The real question is, who doesn't? Not anybody that I can think of. So here's one little side note for networking, then we'll get back on track. Ultimately, you're in this room because you want some version of freedom and peace, whatever that looks like to you, right or wrong. So is everybody else sitting next to you. Instead of finding out that they're a lender or that they want to buy 5 rentals this year, figure out what provides them their freedom and peace, and then figure out how to get that to them in a way that helps your freedom and peace. If you want to know the key to networking, and I know that's one thing that Jim hammers on, that's the essence of what good networking is. How do I provide you with the freedom and peace that you're looking for in a way that helps me get mine? Oh, one other thing. I know that this group, we're not going to have anybody that went the wrong way on this, but I think it's important that we emphasize that freedom and peace is not a zero-sum game, right? And if you don't know what I mean by that, it means that you getting your freedom and peace doesn't have to come at the expense of somebody else's, right? Dad can have freedom and peace and it not take away from mine. In fact, just the opposite is true. He can get his freedom and peace while I get my freedom and peace, and we can all do it together. This is your deal.
Oh, okay. All right. Adam made these slides. I'm seeing them for the first time here with you guys. So, what does freedom and peace look like to a realtor? Well, I suppose, getting listings and.
Well,
getting
I mean this specific deal.
Oh, yeah. As far
That
as
specific
if
realtor.
you're a realtor and you go to list a house, one of the things you need to be looking for is what's going to give these folks freedom and peace. And you're probably thinking, well, get the house sold. But sometimes it's not just about getting the house sold. It's about a lot of other things too.
I want you to tell what's the realtor looking for that brought you the deal that you're working on now?
Oh, okay.
The mobile home deal.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about a deal, okay, that I'm working on right now. Thanks, Adam. I have to remind the old man. I've got a deal right now that a realtor, an opportunity, I should say, that I'm working on, that a realtor brought to me, and this realtor does not have it listed, and she's not looking for a commission. She worked with this gentleman when she first started out in the real estate business as a realtor, but he was her only client. He was a builder. He was also a realtor, but he was more of a builder and a developer, and she was just working with him, selling his properties. So she's known him for like 25 or 30 years, a long time. And this guy, when she took me to see him, I've been by there twice, and I took him an offer the other day that was not signed. I did that for a reason. This guy's laying in bed. He can only move his eyes just a little bit to the side. He has ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, and he is that close to dying. And I think he's staying alive for one reason: to get this deal done, to take care of his wife. I guarantee you that's what it is. The realtor told me, look, I'm not looking for a commission. Just, she knows me. She's been around for a little while, and she knows I've been a problem solver, and she's looking for me to solve this problem, okay? And what it is, he has 18 mobile homes that's on 15 lots. I think 3 of them are on like an 1.5 acre lot, and the others are all like on 1 acre, kind of spread out. They're older mobile homes in not a bad area. I already own one really nice rental home real close to those. And so she takes me to see this guy. And I know the guy's had one of those hammer offers because Adam's brother made that hammer offer. And I didn't even know it till I mentioned it to him the other day. And he said, oh, yeah, I made an offer on that. I didn't have time to go see him. He's a senator. And he said, I was in session and they told me about it, and I just wrote an offer for it, without even seeing it. But anyway, they didn't take that offer, thank goodness. And no, I wouldn't have minded if he had gotten it. But anyway, it was an all-cash offer. Just write them a deal for cash. But they didn't like that. And so I've gone to see this guy, and I'm trying to figure out what will bring him freedom and peace. And I'm thinking, I met his wife coming out. She's like a school teacher or something. And his one goal is to make sure she's taken care of as long as she lives. That's his goal. And he's laying there, perfect mind, brilliant guy. His brother is there and holds the contract up for him to read it, okay? And just a little more on the technical side of it. I had all the data as far as income and expenses and all those things. And they gave me not a price, but they gave me an indication of what they wanted for price. And they said that this particular appraiser had said, look, the cap rate on this should be about 9%, which I readily agreed with part of it on the land, but the mobile homes were older. And you don't want to pay cap rates on older mobile homes. I don't know if you know that. If any of you thinking about buying a mobile home park or a bunch of mobile homes, and you're buying it based on income, don't do it on cap rate. Maybe the land and the rent that's coming from the land you can do on a cap rate. And I told them, I said, that's fair enough on the land, and I would agree with you, 9%, but not on those older mobile homes. And I said, anyway, if we do this cap rate on the whole thing, here's what the price is going to come out to be, and it was like $800,000. I said, I would still probably pay that if you'll finance the whole thing and do 3% interest. And we were going to go on like $4,000 a month, okay? So that would have worked for me, and that would have made the price like $700,000 or $800,000. But while I'm sitting there next to his bedside, I said, I would rather pay you a much higher interest rate, like 8%. Okay? And he said to his brother, I couldn't understand what he was saying, but his brother repeated to me, he wants a big deduction, tax deduction. But what did that do to the price? Any idea? It brought it down $300,000. But I'm still paying the same thing, the same monthly payment for the same number of payments. Does that make sense? If y'all don't follow that, see me and I'll show you. It's a simple math thing that you can do with your compound interest calculator. So anyway, you know, they haven't argued about that. They wanted me to come back. I gave them a written offer, and he had a bad night and he couldn't stay there with me to do the whole thing, so I just left it with them, unsigned. I'm going to go back. But I know that in talking to the realtor, she's saying, you know, I don't really want a commission out of this. You know, I haven't had a Sunday at home with my little girl in months. And I would really like to get to where I'm easing out of the realtor thing, and I'm getting to the point where I can get some cash flow. You know, I'm making her think about that. And so she wants something out of the deal, I know. So how could I give her some freedom and peace? You know, here's the seller. If I can structure this thing where he's got freedom and peace and he can let go and pass to the other side, knowing that his wife's going to be taken care of for an income the rest of her life. The realtor, if I can give her some freedom and peace out of this and give her a piece of the deal, whatever it is, and us still manage it. I don't want to manage it. I'll explain that in a minute. But give her some freedom and peace from where she is in life, and give her a little bit more of a chance to have an income without having to be there, and can start backing off playing the realtor and spend more time with her family and out on this farm she bought 5 years ago that she doesn't have time to spend any time on. She horse person, loves being out in the country. She gets up in the morning and leaves. She gets home late at night. She's gone on the weekends. So we're going to figure out a way to start making life a little bit better for her. What's in it for, say, Adam? Well, Mr. Adam and his team is going to be managing this project. Okay?
Why wouldn't you just manage that yourself?
Well, I've got enough. And I've got freedom and peace. and I don't want anything to take away my freedom anymore. You know, I manage all my stuff now, and I don't want to manage anymore. You know, I might pick up one here and there, but I'm not looking for another big project to do. So I'm trying to retain my freedom and peace. And I would challenge all of you, if you haven't thought about it already, and us up here talking, to start thinking about, you know, is there some areas in my life where I'd like to have more freedom and more peace? Reflect on that and see. And then if you'll start looking at that for other people, you know, like Zig Ziglar says, if you'll help enough other people get what they want, you can have everything you want. And if you help enough other people get freedom and peace, and you look at it like every one of those deals Bill was talking about, I was sitting there thinking about how he was actually giving people freedom and peace and being able to do that for himself at the same time. And that's what it's all about. So you start looking at it from that lens and seeing what it is that you can do to help these people find freedom and peace in their situation, and you'll start finding it in yours. So Adam, you know, he's got a team working with him in his office, and they can manage this with like nothing. And it gives them a more of an income. And hey, I can keep part of it and pick up more income myself. So it's if you look at it from that lens of freedom and peace to everybody involved in that deal and structure it that way, it's an incredible thing. And I know I could stand up here and talk about techniques all day long, but I don't want you to think about techniques right now. But I want you to hear what Bill's saying and everybody else about the techniques and what they're doing. And look, options. Man, I encourage y'all to take that course. I took Adam to Jack Miller's options course.
04.
04 and in San Francisco. And that's when I introduced Adam to options, way back in those days. It's incredible, and Bill's got it. So I encourage you to do that. What's next? I don't even know what the next slide is.
Well, and we are speeding through a little bit just to get us back on track. We've gone over a little bit. I think we can get to where we need to go pretty quickly. But one of the things, so I want to reiterate something Dad said. Go through, where's Bill? Bill showed y'all how to do a T-chart, right? Or a T-bar. We call them T-charts in Mississippi, sorry. I was gonna say, because a T-bar is probably something that we would make sweet tea with somehow or something. When's the last time you did one of those for yourself? When's the last time you took a real inventory on the things that provide you with the freedom and peace you're looking for and the things that hinder it? And I would encourage you, when you start breaking down deals, especially the creative deals, if you'll notice at the heart of just about all these creative deals, unless the seller was going to lose it to foreclosure tomorrow, there's a strong element of providing freedom and peace to everybody involved to get the deal across the table. Would you guys agree with that? Even in foreclosure, it's a lot of freedom and peace. Right? So do that for yourself. That's where you need to get started. Figure out what your version is and what hinders you from hitting your version. And then if you take care of you, it's like being on an airplane, right? Whose oxygen mask do you put on first? How often do we put everybody else first? All the time. It's okay to take care of yourself so that you can take care of other people. It's okay to take care of yourself. It's okay to feel freedom and peace for yourself. That's why we do all this to start with, isn't it? Oh, is that our time?
That's better than Rotten Tomatoes.
Donuts are ready. All right, so here's our sales pitch. We do have a weekly coaching group. It is helpersnothagglers.com, right? We have to have everybody, Mississippi, we got to have everybody spell check and double check and all that kind of stuff. Helpersnothagglers.com. You can come talk to me or Dad. You can come talk to Courtney if you're interested. We do weekly coaching, and that is if we can be a good fit to help you on your version to freedom and peace. And then I would encourage you, for any of you that want to really test it out, we are donating to the auction tomorrow 3 months in the coaching group and a 1 hour call with Dad, a separate 1 hour call with me, and a separate 1 hour call with Courtney. If you're interested in trying that out, do it through the auction.
And
that's my one guess.
Next month or so, I don't know exactly the schedule, is going to be options.
Yes.
Yeah, master lease, leases and options.
Yes. So I almost said better half. That's, but there's three parts, I guess. This is our better third. We're getting better at math in Mississippi. But y'all, this is Courtney Fricky. She is amazing. You've spent how much time with Pete and a lot of time with Bill? You do your best to keep me and Dad straightened out, which is a full-time job in itself. But she was really who spearheaded the idea of doing the coaching that we're doing and really getting some of that knowledge back out there, especially with Dad, right? He loves to teach this stuff. I don't know if y'all know this, but introduce yourself real quick. I'm going to tell a quick story and then I'll.
You're okay. So, I'm Courtney Fricky. I'm based out of New Orleans, just a rock and a skip away from these guys. I've only been doing it for 10 years, but he's been doing it 20. He's been doing it 40. At the end of the day, one of the biggest things that has changed the game for me was learning from what I respectfully call the gray-haired guys. And I didn't feel like I could help other people. I'm a RIA owner. I'm on the radio every weekend back at home. And so I'm helping my community. But in 10 years, I haven't been through a down market. So I'm not going to try to speak from theory. So what did I do? I brought in one of the biggest influences on my career. Do you mind telling them why Helpers Not Hagglers, where the name came from? Because it goes right along with your message today.
So, back to freedom and peace. This is why Courtney's got to be around, because she helps keep our heads on straight. So I went on an appointment, and this guy responded to a letter, went down, we walked the house. You know, it needs a lot of work, but there are certain aspects of it that are just spectacular. And it was what this guy had done himself. And he had been in a car wreck. Actually, he had lost his wife unexpectedly. Had about a year at home where he just said he just couldn't hardly get out of the house, right? Have y'all ever, I mean, it happens, just rock bottom. And he finally gets to where he says, you know what, I'm gonna start piddling around the house again. I'm gonna do some of these projects. His first real trip out of the house, somebody runs a red light, T-bones him on his way to Home Depot, in the hospital for a few months. And it messed him up, did some permanent damage in a few areas. Had a free and clear house, unfinished, couldn't really do much on his own outside of a few of the basics. When we got there, he told me, he said, you know, this was as we went along, he eventually said that letter saved his life.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, I mean,
remember who you talked about.
that's a powerful thing for somebody to tell you, and you know that they're being sincere. And that's one of the things that I love most about being on appointments and being in living rooms. But as we're talking, he said, I kept asking him, I said, what is it that you want? Like, what do you need to get what you want? And he said, well, just make me an offer. And I said, no, I will not make you an offer, because I need to know what you want, and I want to try to get it for you. I'm not here to be a haggler. I'm here to be a helper. And if I can't be here and be a helper for you, then I don't want to be here. So tell me what you want, and let me just try to get it to you. And he started crying, and that's where we came up with the helpers, not hagglers, because that's what we really try to be on appointments. We don't want to beat somebody up. I can't tell you how many times we've gone into the living room and paid more than what somebody was asking, and that was on a cash deal. Right? Because that's the way that we like to do business. We like to provide freedom and peace. We like to be helpers, not hagglers, as long as it makes financial sense. Right? Be a helper, not a haggler. Provide the freedom and peace. And that's, I mean, one of the things that I wanted to highlight on you and your love of teaching and sharing a lot of this stuff. How many of y'all grew up with indoor plumbing? He didn't.
I was born naked too. and didn't speak the language either. And I was broke.
But he grew up, didn't have electricity till fourth grade, didn't have indoor plumbing till junior in high school, didn't have anybody to teach him any of this stuff. And he would go collect Coke bottles when you could go turn them in, right? Got the basket on the front of the bike, collect them in the morning on Saturdays, you turn them in for a little money, and then joined the Air Force, started doing real estate as an agent, then a broker, and then found investing. And guess what has provided him with his freedom and peace? All that stuff that he learned along the way. And that's why he loves to teach and share the way that he does. So if we can help you guys, whether you get in the coaching or not, doesn't matter. If we can help you, let us know. If we can answer a question for you, let us know.
How much time do we have left?
I think 3 or 4 minutes.
Do I have time to just tell a quick story?
Absolutely.
Okay, this wasn't even planned, but how much time do I have? 3 or 4 minutes? I don't want to go over. Okay, so it's been, what, 2 or 3 years, Trip Lane,
Oh, yeah, that was,
3 or 4 years ago? Two.
that was probably 4 or 5 years ago.
So Adam calls me. We had a wholesaler, okay, that Adam taught. The guy's actually a DEA supervisor. And he called Adam one day and he,
Now you can't say any names.
well, I won't say any names. Well, he's not undercover anymore, but he called Adam out of the, he had, y'all running my time out. Adam gets a call from this guy one day because he'd heard Adam on Bigger Pockets or something like that. And he calls Adam, and Adam on his cell phone, and Adam's wondering how this guy got his phone number. And he said, well, I heard you on such and such, and I'd like to come ride with you for 4 hours one afternoon. I'll pay you $500. Adam said, well, come on up. We'll go for a ride, you know. And so Adam taught this guy wholesaling, you know, and we've gotten to be great friends, just super friends. Courtney knows him real well. And so he went out on this deal. He put these signs up everywhere, you know, and he was undercover, and he had Mississippi Power, these trucks that they take, and they'd have Mississippi Power signs on them. They would have
Jim, you may have to edit some of this before it goes online.
Cable company on it, you know. Well, then he put "I buy houses" signs on it, and he'd be out surveilling the neighborhood, and he'd be getting calls, you know, to buy houses, and he's doing undercover DEA work, you know. So, but anyway, somehow or another, he came across this couple, and they were an older couple. The guy was a bricklayer, stone layer, and an excellent one at that. And their house, it's not a big house, a little small house out on 3 acres in the country. And it was like Better Homes and Gardens. It was incredible. You know, the stonework in the closets and the fireplace and everything. It was beautiful. But he'd gotten hurt. And they owned the house free and clear. And the wife had been sick for a while. I found out this later, and she was bedridden for like 3 months. I mean, he changed diapers, fed her. They're that kind of people. They were just really good people. So Adam said, look, you guys, he gets the referral from the wholesaler that he taught. Adam goes, he finds what he thinks is a situation, and he said, you guys don't need me. You need to call this realtor friend of ours and just list this house is going to sell real quick. And they said, well, you know, let's see, what all was it? Their truck payment and their
2 months past due,
and the
power's
power's about to get turned off, and this free and clear house, and they're in a situation, and it's not all their fault. You know what I'm saying?
And in the appointment, it felt like you were at your friend's grandparents' house.
Yeah. So Adam calls me and said, hey, Dad, went to this house. Here's the situation. House is going to sell. I told him to list it with Grace. Would you loan them $5,000 just to help them out? And I thought, oh, shoot, you know, I got to go do this. But so anyway, I called an attorney down in that particular area, and I don't do a lot of business down there, and it was an attorney I had never done business with before, and I said, would you run a title for me on this property? And he did, came back with all these judgments. had about 5 or 6, 7 judgments. Ford Motor Company, $11,000, had about a $25,000 or $26,000 with the Keesler Federal Credit Union, had several little judgments with little tower loans and things like that, you know. And I thought, oh, shoot, you know, here I am. I've done this title. It's going to cost me money. And so, you know, and I can't loan them money with this kind of situation. So I called the attorney, and I said, you know, I'm just going to go down, and I'm going to create a new ally. And, you know, a lot of times people have an attorney do a title, and they don't ever go pay him. And I never met this guy. I wanted an ally. So I called his office, how much I owe you, wrote a check, and I drove down there. It's almost an hour drive. I get down there, and I bring him his check, and he said, oh, man, you can't buy that place. It's got this, all these judgments and whatnot. And I said, well, I'm going to drive over and tell the old folks I can't do it. So I get over there, and I find out, I mean, they're open to me, truthful. And their electricity's about to be turned off, and my heart went out. So how can I help them find peace and freedom in this deal? So they told me that this was on a Thursday. So the next Wednesday, they were going to have to go to court again for another $30,000 or $40,000 judgment, which was going to wipe out all their equity in the house. So they were totally wiped out. So I knew I had to move fast. I know how to do deeds. I know how to do deeds of trust. I did all that, and I'm doing it for myself. I'm not practicing law for all you attorneys in here. I did it for myself. I drew up a deed of trust and a note and a deed and deeded it to my LLC. And I told them, you meet me tomorrow at the courthouse. We met at the courthouse. They deeded the property to me. I brought them a cashier's check for $5,000. And they went and caught their truck payment up, got their electricity caught up. I called the realtor and said, unlist it with them and list it with me. And I started working on those judgments. And because I got it out of their name before that next Wednesday, that next judgment didn't hit them. So I saved them $30,000, just like that, okay? They're only $30,000. 5 of it I was given, and the deed of trust, the note was for $25,000. House sold just like that, and December the 27th of that year, I remember it really well. I show up at the closing, and I called them. I said, look, we got some exciting news. Come up today and get your $25,000 check. All right, so I get into this different attorney's office, closing. There's the realtor in the listing agent, the selling agent, the banker was in the room, the closing attorney was in the room, I'm in the room, and the people buying the house is in the room, the couple, okay? And the old couple shows up, and the little girl out front brought them right in, set them across the table from the people that was buying it. And they're telling them all about the house and the whole bit. And they knew, and I'd bought the house for $65,000, okay? And when that deal closed, everybody in that room was happy. That's the way you want it. Everybody in that room walked away with freedom and peace. And that's how you want to make every deal happen if you possibly can. The only ones that weren't real happy in this was the Keesler Federal Credit Union and all those tower loans and all those people, because I got pennies on the dollar for all those. I got the $11,000 Ford Motor Credit Company deal totally off. And that's how we made our money. I get home, and it's the end of the year, and I'm trying to figure out how not to pay taxes. So I wrote a check for $6,000 and called the guy that referred the deal over to Adam and said, can you come up to my house today? Yeah, I'll drop by, Mr. Leon. Comes by, and I gave him a check for $6,000. He didn't even know this whole deal was going on. So we made another person happy. You see what I'm saying? So it's about making people happy. And my prayer is that you guys can find freedom and peace, help a whole bunch of other people find it, and spread it all around. That's what this is all about. Okay? Love all of you.
Woo!
Did you take a picture?
Wow, look at that, Leon, huh? How about that, guys?
You take a picture with it?
Yeah.
Hey, Dad.
Got their electricity caught up. I called the realtor and said, unlist it with them and list it with me. And I started working on those judgments. And because I got it out of their name before that next Wednesday, that next judgment didn't hit them. So I saved them $30,000.